Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
And I'm Emily.
We were going to be done with 2023 ski comparisons, but we received quite a few comments and questions asking us to do a women's freeride and powder ski comparison, and we were happy to oblige.
Absolutely.
So here we are with a bunch of women's skis. You might notice that there are technically some men's or unisex graphics up here. That's just because we didn't actually have the women's graphic available in the building. We should have them on the website, so figured I would just address that before we get going. And then we're going to go in order of narrowest to widest, and a pretty big range up here. We got a few skis in 104, bunch of skis in 106, and then over there on the right side of the wall, we got some big skis.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That Black Ops 118 is, I think, the real deal.
Absolutely.
Pretty specific application. Mm-hmm. So we'll get things started over here with the line Pandora 104. And we brought the scale with us too because I think, at least with a lot of these skis, there's some pretty significant potential touring application in our... 1 second, we got to change the settings on this thing. Our shipping department stole our scale. So
that makes more sense.
We got the Pandora 104 here from line, just over or now just under 1,500 grams, depending on how close I'm standing to that scale. So call it 1,500 grams exactly. This is pretty interesting because this ski is actually built the same and kind of shares the same dimensions with the previous or the now outdated, or at least it's gone from the catalog, the line Sick Day for the men. Mm-hmm. Those were replaced by the Blade Optics, but we still have these Pandoras for women. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of different width options here. This is the widest that uses this exact recipe. So pretty lightweight wood core in these skis, and then we get carbon fiber stringers. And it is more of a directional ski. We'll see a little bit of a difference when we get to that Pandora 110 over there, but quite a bit of tip rocker up there. You know, we're going to see a lot of skis with tip rocker on this wall, but a little bit less tail rocker, at least in the amount of splay. So pretty good directional finish, good feedback out of the tail there, pretty supportive, and just a very fun, well-rounded flex pattern. You can tell that the tips and tails are quite a bit softer, but it's pretty strong through that portion of the ski. But just a very, very fun ski. Super lightweight, super agile. Not the strongest ski on the wall, but I think strong enough for a lot of skiers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the whole Pandora line. You get a lot of, options and with widths and just characteristics.
Yeah.
This ski versus the 110, which we'll get to obviously later, I think there's a little bit more versatility with the 104s.
Yeah, I think so too.
Definitely not a dedicated powder ski. It definitely has more capabilities. If you're kind of all over the mountain, but you want something that's going to perform well in soft snow. I mean, like Jeff was saying, you have more of a directional tail. So you have just for hard pack and firmer conditions, if you're kind of going from soft snow to groomers and just going all over, it can really handle a lot, and it's just really fun and maneuverable. So a lot of applications with this one.
Totally. And I think perfectly light enough, 1,500 grams, really good option as kind of that hybrid resort touring ski.
Totally.
I could see somebody putting a shift or even something lighter like a Kingpin on here if they really were going to do a lot of touring. You don't see like a skin attachment spot on the tail.
But you could.
Yeah, maybe not like an exact intention of the ski from the manufacturer, but I think it certainly works, and I think you see quite a few people doing that on these skis.
Totally.
And I think these first three skis are fun because as we go through them, we move kind of from the lightweight, soft flexing, playful side of the spectrum to more strength and stability. And this was one that you really liked, Emily.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Rossignol Rallybird 104 Ti. So a lot going on in all these skis. This one's got, love that Rossignol puts the cheat sheet on here so I don't have to rack my memory. Paulownia wood core, carbon alloy matrix. Those are two really important ingredients in this ski. But then we also got Titanal beam. So this is kind of the only ski in the Rallybird collection that adds that metal and definitely strengthens it quite a bit, I think, compared to that 102. And as we are adding metal to skis, we're going to see that weight jump up there. So now we're up just over 1,700 grams.
Yeah, this is definitely a heftier ski than the 102. I wouldn't put just anybody on these skis. I think they're definitely geared towards advanced to expert female skiers who want just a hard charging ski. I mean, once you start heading down the fall line, these things really want to go. And if you have the skill set to ski these and maneuver them, you're going to have a great time. I mean, they're really, really fun, really smooth. That was really what stood out to me, was just like any unwanted chatter, you know, getting into any crud or just, you know, variable conditions. They really handled it super well. And they have, you know, between the vibration dampening, and the shape and profile, I mean, the tips really do just kind of plow through everything, and then as it gets closer to the middle of the ski, it just really smooths things out.
Totally. Pretty similar shape, actually, to that I wanted to call it a sick day, but it's not. It's a Pandora 104. You know, quite a bit of tip rocker up here, but a flatter tail. And I think the turn radius is longer in this ski compared to that Pandora. This is the 163. So okay, I was wrong. That's a 13-meter radius in that short length. But as you bump up in the length options there, they do get a little bit longer. And of course, this doesn't list turn radius. So 14.6 meter radius. Had to go look that up. Line actually just lists the average radius as 14.6. So this is a longer turn shape as you get up into the longer lengths. But super cool ski, and definitely really good for somebody who, you know, likes this conversation over here but wants a little bit more strength and stability.
Yeah, absolutely. Really powerful, but also really responsive. So finds that happy medium that I just really value in a ski.
Yeah, no, it was really fun watching you get to ski those.
Yep.
And I thought you were a really good example of somebody who should be skiing them.
Yeah.
You know, you ski pretty fast, pretty aggressively, but you've still got a playful side.
Totally.
And it's not like they're so serious that they're like, you're locked into a carve or something like that. So moving along here, now we have the Nordica Santa Ana 104 free. So pretty similar conversation to that Rallybird, but there are some differences here. First, we get terrain-specific metal from Nordica in this ski, so pretty cool. We've seen that technology kind of trickle over to the Unleashed skis, both for men and for women. Full-width metal in the tips, and then it tapers through kind of the fore and aft sections of the ski, and then goes full width again underfoot. So what I really like about that method of construction is it makes the tips and tails feel pretty strong. So if you were to hit something, you know, if I'm thinking like hit like a really firm chunk of ice or something else just firm and unexpected, they're less prone to deflection. But by taking out metal in this portion of the ski, it brings the swing weight down. So it's kind of a cool way to like get that balance.
Absolutely.
But it does, as with a lot of Nordicas, it does result in a heavier ski. So about 50 grams heavier than that Rallybird that we looked at about 1,750.
Yep. Yeah, these take it up a little bit as far as just sturdiness and power, but yet they still find this nice balance similar to the Rallybirds, but like you said, just different placement of metal, and they're still really playful. So it's this blend of playfulness and power that I would steer a lot of skiers towards. Again, more expert to advanced though, for sure.
It is nice how they balance the strength of the construction with probably at least the most splay in the tail rocker that we've seen in those first three skis. So it gives it still has that like surfy, playful, smeary feel. But yeah, a lot of strength in this ski.
Yeah.
It's a good one. A lot of similarities. You know, it's kind of like a hybrid between the men's Enforcer 104 and that new Unleashed. I love both of those skis. I've actually thought about getting a pair of these for myself over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be a really good, like, everyday ski, not necessarily around here, but somebody who's in a snowier area. I mean, they're just a really well-rounded ski that's not necessarily geared towards one type of condition or another. They really can handle a lot of everything, and then have the width and the shape in both the tip and tail to really be a lot of fun in powder as well.
Yeah, very, very well-rounded ski, especially for somebody that lives out west.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to think about it, where here in Vermont, it could be your powder ski.
Yeah.
Out west, it could easily be a daily driver.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go wider, they have that Santa Ana 110 as well. We actually didn't have that one in the building, which was surprising, but pretty similar story between the 104 and the 110. Changing things a little bit here with this DPS Pagoda Tour 106 C2. A lot of technology going on in these skis. They basically have like a multi-layer wood core, and then they have that algal tech. So there's a strip of algal tech running through the middle of the ski. We also get algal sidewalls. And this being the C2 shaping is a little bit straighter of a cut compared to the RP skis. So a little bit less rocker, longer turn radius. And this ski is very, very light, but also very stiff.
Yes.
I think that's really important to point out on these skis. But a really, really good touring ski, a lot of precision, a lot of responsiveness, and even quite a bit of stability, especially given the fact that it's 1,300 grams.
Absolutely, yeah, it's super light, but like you just pointed out, also really like has a great level of stiffness and flex, which as a touring ski, obviously weight is super important, but then, you don't want to have to sacrifice downhill performance, and this ski really just finds that perfect balance. Really like top quality construction, and also just really predictable and responsive.
Yeah.
And you're gonna cruise up the uphill, and then downhill performance is really fantastic given the weight.
Yeah, no, they're strong skis.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool. This shape has been around for a while. DPS changes their construction and updates their construction as the technology increases. But it seems like people are like coming full circle to this ski. I don't know why, but I've seen more and more comments about this exact ski, or especially this shape this season, than I have in the past couple seasons. And I wonder if it's just more and more skiers are touring, and more and more skiers can benefit and are starting to realize that skis like this are a really good tool.
Absolutely.
And if you're looking for more of a kind of wiggly ski, like quicker through tight trees, go check out skis like the Pagoda 100 RP, because that has that more pronounced rocker and early taper shape, and that classic 15-meter turn shape, where this is a longer turn radius in these skis. Super fun.
Yeah.
One of the lightest skis up here too.
Very light.
We'll see some other light ones, but I think this one might take it.
Especially after the Nordicas.
Totally. Yeah, we started here right in kind of a middle ground for weight, went a little bit heavier here. So I think it's kind of a cool way to think about binding application or binding combination here, is hybrid binding would be great here in the Pandora. I think both of these, most skiers are going to be looking to put an alpine binding on here. We do have the unlimited version of this ski, so if you're looking at that shape but you want to go touring, I would point you to the unlimited ski. And then this Pagoda Tour 106, that's more in the conversation of just touring bindings. I wouldn't even really think about some of those hybrid bindings like Duke PTs and shifts. I don't really think they make sense on there. So kind of a fun way to start this comparison in those first few skis. Another one that you really liked last year in our testing, this is the QST Stella 106. So same changes that the men's ski got. We did a full review of that ski last year. Super, super fun. They basically took the recipe of the old QST 106 and kind of followed the trends of the blank or the 98 that we saw last year. So more increased taper, at least more abrupt. So the widest point of the ski is brought closer to the center. Same is true in the tail. So they kind of made this ski a little bit quicker, a little bit more agile. Quite a bit of rocker in both the tip and tail. So that's kind of corresponding with that early taper shape. So, you get, on firm snow, you get a very, very short effective edge. But they build this ski in an impressive way. So poplar wood core, CFX fiber, damp tech. We get that kind of double sidewall technology underfoot. So they're very, very agile. They're very, very fun to ski, super easy to flick around. They never feel like they're stuck in a turn or locked into a turn, but you also get quite a bit of stability underfoot. So I think it's a very well-rounded freeride powder ski.
Absolutely. And when I first saw it, I know I've said this before, but the shape really stood out to me, just the amount of rocker and taper, especially compared to the former years of the Stella.
Yeah.
It's quite a dramatic shift.
Yeah, it really is.
But given
Visually,
that, given that, the second I was on them and taking a few turns, I mean, the fact that they did the double sidewall technology really makes up for the short and effective edge. And they're just really maneuverable, but yet still really stable underfoot. So they're a really fun-loving, just nimble freeride ski. And even with the tail shape, like I could still ski switch if I wanted. And
I think that's a cool thing about these skis. And there have been people like asking for twin tip QSTs, and time will tell if Salomon delivers something like that. But I think for a lot of people, depending on how much you're skiing switch, these will work just fine.
Totally.
I was skiing a QST 92 this morning, which has basically the exact same shape and same rise in the tail, and I skied switch all over the place. So
and these are really,
you can do.
Like, you can definitely take these in the trees if you want. I've skied them in bumps. Like, they still really, you can really, like you said, like flick them around easily.
Yeah.
Just to really, they feel less wide than they are. Just given
they
their,
feel
like,
pretty quick.
their personality and
But then you still do get the float.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if you happen to be in soft snow, they basically took all the reasons why the QST Blank is such a fun powder ski and gave it to this thing too.
Yep.
So really cool, I think, what Salomon's doing with the QST line right now. 1,830 grams, so it's not light, despite there not being a ton of metal in there or anything like that. I think it's important to point out that they're not lightweight skis. They're pretty hefty. So we'll leave that up to the consumer whether you'd want to put some sort of touring binding on there or not.
Yeah.
I know there are people that do. I know there are Salomon athletes that do. Like you see it pretty frequently. Skis like this paired with a shift. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're going to be doing a lot of touring, I would stay in one of these lighter weight skis probably, but certainly a potential if you want to just do a little bit. Great for like short tours, the occasional side country mission, stuff like that. So this is one of those skis that I mentioned at the beginning where we don't have the women's graphic, but fortunately they are built the same. So this is the new Black Crow's Atris. We're 105 underfoot, so a little bit of a mess up there by putting the Stella in front of it, but that's okay. You'll forgive us. So 105 underfoot, they brought that down from past years where it was 108. The rest of the recipe is more similar than different in my opinion. We still get like kind of a freestyle inspired, but still directional shape is how I kind of think about this ski. So quite a bit of tip rocker up there. There is quite a lot of rise in the tail, but not as much as the tip. So it's not like it's a true twin tip. Pretty simple construction in these skis. Poplar wood core, fiberglass. With Black Crows, a lot of the quality and value is really coming from the actual quality of their manufacturing method. It's not like there are crazy materials in here. Like if you cut it in half and looked at it next to this DPS, there's considerably more technology in there. But the way that Black Crow's build ski is really nice. The finish quality is really, really nice. And I think it's fair to put them in that kind of premium category. But very fun ski. Really a nice transition from this QST because it does a lot of similar things. One thing that I was kind of looking at before we started filming is this does have a 19 meter turn radius, where this is 17. We've got some skis up here that are even in like the 15 range, like this Genesis 106 BC. So this is a longer turn shape than some of the skis that you're going to see up here, but still very fun. And if anything, with this new version, I think they just made it a little bit quicker. Yeah,
I mean, they're definitely a really fun, like big mountain powder ski, but they also just, the construction, like Jeff was just saying, I mean, I don't know, they are a little bit more versatile than you would think, given the size and the width. I think they were kind of trying to focus on making a big mountain powder ski that also had a bit of versatility. And, you know, you could go from some, you know, big line with a lot of snow and some steep terrain and then hop on a groomer and still have a you know, decent amount of performance, control, edge grip. The effective edge and like the side cut, it's pretty, like, especially compared to the Stellas. I mean,
it's like you can see the difference in the taper shape in the tip there.
So you still get a long effective edge. So when you are on firmer conditions, I mean, you have that edge grip, you have that control and finesse, which is, you know, pretty like worth noting for a pretty wide ski.
No, I think that's a perfect way to put it. Is like it feels quicker edge to edge than you might think. I guess kind of similar to this, and they're both pretty quick, but yeah, it's just a very well-rounded ski. I think they kind of nailed it with the changes to that ski. And if you really want like that true big mountain ski like Emily was kind of alluding to, they have that Anima over there. So it makes sense that this would be a little bit more versatile, a little bit more playful, even when you're not necessarily in deep snow. Really good ski. One of my favorites from Black Crows. And then this next ski, we have the K2 Mindbender 106C. This has become a favorite in K2's line for women. This ski is only available for women. They don't have a men's Mindbender 106C, which leaves some of us a little bit jealous. But I think a very similar conversation to the one that we had with this Pandora 104 over here. But I do think this ski is a little bit stronger overall. So that ski is very soft flexing, very lightweight, very, very playful. This ski has a little bit more power or supportiveness to it. And what K2 does in this ski, unlike or rather than the metal in the TI versions of the Mindbender skis, we get this carbon spectral braid, which I've always thought was really cool. It's a tighter weave of carbon up in the forebody of the ski. So if you think about like how the carbon is angled, in the tip it's angled more horizontally. And then when you get to the tail, that carbon is weaved more in a longitudinal sense. So they're basically controlling torsional stiffness in different portions of the ski. So as you're initiating a turn up here, the ski feels strong and supportive and responsive. But in the tail, it allows for really, really easy edge release. So I think that's super cool, the way that K2 does that. And just like that I keep wanting to say sick day, that Pandora that we started with, it is more of a directional shape. So quite a bit of tip rocker up there, but flatter tail. By length, there's still a lot of tail rocker, but compared to some of these skis we've looked at so far, Santa Ana, QST, Atris, there's not nearly as much splay here. So a little bit better as a directional ski if you're looking for responsiveness out of the tail.
I mean, that is really what stands out with these skis for me, is just the difference in torsional stiffness in the tips versus the tails. I mean, they're directional shape, but the tails are pretty forgiving.
Totally, very forgiving.
And then, you know, you have that strength and power in the tips, which just really affects the performance overall. And given all that too, it has a 15-meter turn radius, so it's like they're pretty snappy. I mean, if you want to go into the trees and bumps, again, like they are pretty maneuverable and yet still have a lot of stability underfoot.
No, it's really cool. I think K2 did a really, really good job with those skis. Sub 1,600 grams there, 1,575 or so. So similar to that Pandora that we started with, certainly could put a hybrid AT binding on there. I've seen plenty of people do that. It works really well. You know, you could take a K2 Mindbender boot with it, and it's just going to create like a really nice overall package.
And I've skied the 99 TIs as well, and they are just, those have metal in them, so the weight, the strength to weight ratio is
quite a bit
different. I mean, they're a little bit more hefty and more demanding, and these have a really nice flex and stiffness to them without that added weight.
Yep.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great ski. Very, very well-rounded.
Yep.
Really good for resort and non-resort application. East, west, kind of wherever. It's one of the best skis on this wall if you're just talking about like different applications and versatility and even who can ski it. I think like an intermediate can ski this well. I don't know. Some of these skis just feel like a little clunky.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it is about that ski, but I think it's a little bit easier for an intermediate to control. So next ski up here, ending my side of the wall, this is the Liberty Genesis 106 BC. This is a fun one to have up here. I was hoping we could include the normal Genesis 106 as well, but that one we actually don't have in the building either, whether it's already sold out or whether it's at one of our brick and mortar shops, not sure. But essentially what Liberty did with this ski is they took the overall recipe of that Genesis 106 or the Origin 106 and just made it lighter for touring. Aspen, maple, and some carbon in this ski. It is, again, like similar to this conversation, it's impressive to me how stiff and strong they can make these skis while still keeping them really lightweight. So not quite as light as that DPS, but still 1,500 grams, certainly light enough to put a touring binding on there. And a really kind of cool alternative to Pandora 104, Mindbender 106C. And something that I always look at in these skis is the tail seems a little bit flatter in the BC versions, which makes sense because you're going to, you have a skin back here. The skin's not going to be flopping around as much. Also, when you're skiing like technical backcountry terrain, you may want a little bit more support out of the tail here. So it's just kind of interesting to me that you see that flatter tail and then this like crazy amount of tip rocker.
Yeah.
But really cool ski, very agile, pretty easy to flick around, but you still get the stability from that flex pattern.
Yeah, and it just has that really nice freeride flair. I mean, if you are looking for a fun freeridey backcountry ski, I'd say these are more in that category than the DPS, personally. I mean, they just have a little bit more of that, I don't know.
If we're differentiating, I like this concept. If we're like differentiating between touring and freeride, which I think is where your mind is, this feels more like a touring ski.
Yes.
This is an alpine touring ski, like through and through. Where this feels more like a freeride ski with touring capabilities.
Yes. Yep. So there's a market for that, absolutely. So I would definitely steer a lot of people who are looking for that type of ski in this direction. Yeah, and it's also another kind of cool difference between this and the normal Genesis is the way that they just mill the flat spot, so you have a nice skin attachment point there. But you don't see a ton of these on the hill. At least you don't around here. I bet you see a lot more in Colorado, where Liberty is based. But I think there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to ski this as an East Coast skier. Yeah. It would probably come out less often than if you live in Colorado or Utah or something like that. But yeah, really cool ski. And again, pretty similar recipe to some of these skis that we've looked at, but with its own Liberty flair. Yep. Liberty skis always have a unique feel. Very light, very snappy, very responsive. Yep. But they've done a really good job at kind of increasing their stiffness and at least giving the skis more capabilities than you might think if you think of Liberty just as a brand. Totally. So what do you got over there? You got a Blaze 106 to start. This ski is pretty cool. It's been around for, I think, 3 years now. And in a lot of ways, it kind of helped inspire, not that it predated many of these skis significantly, but I do think it's helping kind of inspire the growth of a category in general, that being that like hybrid freeride powder ski with touring capabilities. Yep. So a lot going on in this ski. We get a hybrid multi-layer wood core. So a bunch of different types of wood laminated together.
You also get a synthetic strip that runs right down the middle. We get this Titanal binding platform underfoot, which a lot of the time with kind of metal platforms underfoot, we will say something like, this is for binding retention, but it does strengthen the ski as well. This one is actually designed more specifically to strengthen the ski. It comes all the way to the all the way to the sidewalls, right underneath your foot, and then it kind of juts out into the fore and aft sections of the ski while also connecting underfoot here. So if it was just for binding retention, they wouldn't need to shape it that way. So it is giving the ski some extra performance. Shape, I think, is probably the most important thing with these skis. Really, really long tip and tail rocker. It is a directional ski. We don't see like a twin tip back here, but still long tail rocker. And then the radius is crazy. So 3D radius in this ski, 29 in the tip, 14 underfoot, and 23 in the tail. So although it doesn't have like a ton of splay or like banana rocker, it's so surfy.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, just by looking at the shovel in the ski, it's like
it's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It looks. I mean, it just looks really fun and surfy and smeary and just like. That said, though, despite what you would imagine the ski is designed for, it has so many applications. Like, it has on the tail, the spot for the skins.
Yep.
It's, not, I mean, what do we have for weight?
Just over 1,500 grams. Plenty light enough in that same conversation as Pandora, Mindbender, Genesis. Basically a wash for weight there.
And even at 106, I mean, it's super versatile. Like, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and it's like interesting, when Volkl came out with this ski, and I think other manufacturers have gone through the same experience, they marketed it as a touring ski, or at least like kind of leaned on that capability. And just so many people started skiing it in the resort and having a really good time on it that they responded and were like, oh, no,
Maybe
this is also a good resort ski too. So like there's no reason why you couldn't just put a Griffin on there.
Absolutely.
And just ski it as a resort powder ski. You actually see that a lot here in Stowe. There's a lot of like Kenja or secret skiers that also have a Blaze 106, and some of them have a Blaze 94 as well, because like you could have Kenja 88, Blaze 94, and Blaze 106 and have a really nice like 3 ski quiver all from Volkl.
Totally.
Great ski.
Let's see if I can sneak this in here.
You'll do it. You can get it.
All right.
So next ski we have is the Armada ARW 106 UL. So this one's pretty interesting because they take basically the shape and the overall concept of the ARV 106, but they take the weight down with a lighter weight core. But what is interesting to me, and I think especially just in the context of this comparison, they're still over 1,800 grams. So I think it's like, the title of a ski doesn't always tell the full story.
Yep.
And that UL refers to ultralight, but it is the second heaviest ski that we've looked at so far. So yes, lighter than an ARV, but not by a tremendous amount.
Yeah, I mean, this ski it's really fun. It's like an all-mountain twin tip.
Totally. Like a Freeride, all-mountain twin tip.
Yep. But with a good amount of sturdiness to them. I mean, they can really plow through all kinds of snow. I mean...
100%. I've always really liked the shape of this ski with like a ton of camber underfoot.
Yep.
But then a lot of rocker too, maybe not by length, but a lot of splay. And then they have that smear tech.
Yep.
It's kind of what Atomic does with the bent line, or even Mavericks too, where you have this kind of beveled finish to the base, which increases float. And yeah, I think you nailed it. It's a super fun Freeride twin tip that has some strength to it too.
Yeah. Yep.
Super fun skis. I think it's just, to go back to that name, I don't know that I would want to put an Armada shift binding on here. And that's just up to the consumer whether the ski is light enough for you to justify it. I think more skiers would benefit from putting an alpine binding on here.
I agree, yeah.
And I even think, like, what do they call this? Freestyle recommended. Like that's got to be the most centered mount point of any ski up here. So if you do have more of that freestyle background or kind of you're focusing your ski on some freestyle capabilities, this is probably the best choice
Absolutely.
up here.
Mm-hmm.
This, maybe that Pandora 110 too. So we got Backland 107 here from Atomic. This is the second ski that we didn't actually have the women's specific graphic. So we've got the men's graphic up here. Awesome ski. We talked about the Backlands quite a bit. They use it's like they call it power wood core, pretty darn sure, but it's quite lightweight. It's another one of those things where like if you read the specs of the ski, it might not give you the best impression of what it actually is. And then I like that they put these windows in the top sheet because you can see the carbon fiber stringers. Yep. So lightweight wood core, carbon fiber stringers. This thing is really long. What length do we have here? 182, and it's still going to be pretty light on there. So just under 1,600 grams. And if we had a length that was more consistent with most of these skis that we've looked at so far, I believe it would be the second lightest ski up here.
Yeah.
So really good as a touring ski. Definitely something that you could put kind of that hybrid binding on. There's more tip rocker here than tail rocker by a considerable amount. You know, these really truly are directional skis. So long tip rocker there. There's that Horizon tech that Atomic uses, very similar to the Smear tech, but flatter tail back there.
Yep.
Which makes sense. You know, for a lot of these touring skis, you're going to see a flatter tail. When you're in the backcountry, you need something that you can kind of trust.
Yep. And again, just to kind of go along with the theme with these touring or hybrid skis, it's just that Freeride flare. I mean, the Horizon Tech Tip, and obviously like the dramatic amount of rocker in these. Like it's a really great touring ski. It has that really nice strength to weight ratio.
Yeah.
But then you have that kind of, you know, soft snow focused tip, you know, you're getting into more powder and heading into just the deeper backcountry with these. You're going to have a really, you know, phenomenal uphill capacity, and then downhill is really impressive. I mean, it's another touring hybrid ski that they're really finding this perfect balance of strength and weight, and you know, this really speaks to that as well.
Yeah, I've always been impressed how strong they're able to make these Backland skis. In fact, like I almost would go as far as saying that like they feel stronger than the equivalent width bent skis.
Yep.
Which like doesn't necessarily make sense if you're viewing them in the catalog or looking at the weight figures, but the way that they can, like a lot of these skis, you know, the way that they can keep them light but make them stiff and supportive is very impressive to me.
And you have a pretty strong like tail. It's pretty flat too, but then you have that really dramatic rocker in the tips. It's just a really ideal shape and stiffness for a backcountry ski.
Yeah, really good for like a technical skier.
Totally.
So here we have the Fischer Ranger 106. This one's a little bit unique up here because
108.
I'm sorry, Fischer Ranger 108. We had so many 106 skis,
I
it
know.
was stuck in my head. Ranger 108 here. This one's unique, as I was going to say, because there's only one graphic. So it's not really a women's ski, but it's also not really a men's ski either. Fischer's just making skis, and they just consider them unisex, which I think is a cool way to go about it. This follows the same recipe as all the new Rangers, so beech and poplar wood core, shaped TI underfoot. We get that little flex cut in the shaped TI underfoot. And actually, I've never really looked at this before, but it's actually pretty similar in length to the metal underfoot in that Blaze.
Yep.
Which is interesting. They're a little bit different in kind of how they are shaped. You know, this one goes into wings where that one's centered more in the middle of the ski, but similar concept. So beech and poplar, metal underfoot. As you go up in width in the Ranger skis, the metal gets shorter and the rocker gets longer. So this ski, you know, we're really kind of moving into like powder specific skis here. I would say this is a resort powder ski more than a backcountry powder ski, but long tip rocker up there. And this ski's got quite a lot of splay back here too. Maybe not the same length as some tail rocker profiles that we've seen, but good amount of splay. Almost a twin tip. It's almost like a twin tip that they just hack the end right off, which we've used to describe the Rangers before. But these things are pretty burly.
Yeah.
I think among skis on this wall, this has got to be one of the strongest skis up here.
Yeah.
Really, really good vibration damping. Just feels very, very smooth and powerful on your feet.
Yeah, really stable, but yet super fun. Has that free ride feel, dramatic, shape for powder skiing. And really, I mean, it's a very well-rounded ski. I mean, I wouldn't put this as just like a powder ski. It's powerful, it's responsive. I mean, it kind of reminds me that the forebody of this ski reminds me of the K2, just as far as like the strength and the stability in the forebody, and then a little
more rise in the tail of this ski than this Mindbender, so a little bit more of that kind of freeride, freestyle-y influence.
But just that smoothness, that like dampening in the tips and the forebody of the ski really just allows you to kind of encounter any kind of terrain or conditions with confidence and reliability.
Yep, 1,850 grams, so one of the heavier skis up here, which that's a big reason why you get that stability and that power and the support for skiing fast and aggressively. But they don't make it like too demanding either. I think Fischer's done a good job.
I wouldn't put just anybody on these.
No, I don't think it's a great intermediate ski. I mean, I think like when you get up into this width range anyways, they're like, most of these aren't really great intermediate skis because you got to achieve a higher edge angle. It's like harder on your knees and your joints and stuff like that, especially if you don't have the technique to drive it.
Right.
But yeah, I think even if you're shopping in this category, there are a lot of skis. Most skis up here are more approachable than these Rangers.
Yes.
So it's something to consider if you're choosing them. It's like that and the Black Ops 118 at the end there. They're kind of a lot of skiing for some people. So just important things to consider.
And an interesting transition because...
Totally. I was excited to go from that Ranger to this ski. This is the Pandora 110. We started with that 104. This ski actually borrows construction and even shaping concepts from the Line Vision skis. So those are more like wide freestyle twin tips. So a little bit different construction in this ski. You kind of get that cross hatching of carbon fiber. They call it triple hybrid construction, which is a little bit silly, but basically carbon is kind of the powering force here, but in a different way than the Pandora 104 that we looked at. And yeah, while that Ranger 108, similar width, pretty darn strong. This ski, similar width, and it's probably the softest flexing ski up here. You know, if you were to compare it to a lot of these skis, it's considerably softer, and it's also very light, which gives it almost an opposite personality from that Ranger 108. Right. So under 1,400 grams here. Yeah. So light enough to tour if you wanted like a wide touring twin tip, which is a pretty unique thing. Yeah. Like kind of hard to find, and there are skiers out there that want that stuff. It's basically why Line went about designing these skis in the first place. Is like let's give people a lightweight twin tip that's wide. Yep. But yeah, very, very playful, super fun, super soft flex pattern. Not for that hard charging Ranger 108 skier, more for a playful kind of new school skier. Like,
I know we say this a lot, but someone who wants to, turn the whole mountain into their playground. Like, it's very, that phrase is very applicable with these because they're just really fun loving. They're soft flexing. I mean, if you're trying to like hit side hits and land switch and, just like have that personality all over the mountain, these are just going to be a blast.
Yeah, like turning really the mountain into a slopestyle course on these. Where on that Ranger 108, you're turning the mountain into a Freeride World Tour venue.
Exactly. Totally. Yep.
Super cool skis. Like, I'm glad that they exist. You're not going to see a ton of them. I don't think that Line sells a ton of them, but it's a really...
But you won't miss them if you do see them.
No, I think, like, I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah. I think Line has some of the best graphics.
They're great.
Except for this ski. I think this is the best looking ski on this wall.
The Sheeva 11s?
I don't think as like a white male, I'm like I'm the right person to be providing an opinion on these skis that are designed for women, but
We'll allow it.
yeah, I'm allowed to have my opinion, and I think this is the best looking ski up here. I think the pink, the way that they like do the pink fade in the tip and tail is really cool. Anyways, this is the Blizzard Sheeva 11. This ski's been out for a while now, back for another season. It's the widest ski in the Sheeva line. Basically shares the same recipe with the Rustler skis on the men's side. And carbon flipcore DRT is the conversation here. That DRT refers mostly to this metal laminate underfoot, which is, you know, kind of similar to what we saw in Ranger or even Blaze. Full width underfoot, and then tapers and ends in the tips and tails. And essentially where the metal ends, or at least where it starts tapering, is where the rocker begins. And I think this is a really cool transition or comparison to the last two skis that we talked about. I don't think it's quite as strong as that Ranger 108. It's certainly not as playful as that Pandora 110, but it is an extremely well-rounded resort powder ski. Lots of tip rocker up here, lots of tail rocker too, but with that metal underfoot, you get pretty good stability in this ski too.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very, very, if you're looking for a resort-specific powder ski, I think there's a lot to like about these. I wish we had that Santa Ana 110 up here in this situation, because that's a very similar conversation, Rustler 11 to Santa Ana 110. But,
yeah, for
you know,
me,
it's been around for a while, but I think it's still a great ski.
For me, what stands out is just the flex pattern between, you know, the extremities and the midsection. It's
Quite
like
a
you
bit
get
stiffer
this
underfoot.
Yeah, you get this torsional rigidity underfoot, which is ideal for edge grip and control and power, and then like a more torsional flex in the tips and tails, which just allows for that maneuverability and that playfulness.
Yeah.
Which is just a really nice balance for an all mountain powder ski.
Yeah, we're up into 112 underfoot here, so I think like this might be the ski, or maybe Pandora 110, or maybe Ranger even, where like it's starting to diminish the potential East Coast application.
Yeah.
Like I think even as a powder ski, like 112 underfoot around here is like arguably unnecessary.
Yes.
But like look at all the snow that they're getting in Utah, or have been over the past week or so. Like that's your ski.
Yeah.
If you're getting 70 inches of snow at Alta for a week and you've got a Sheeva 11, you're going to have a really good time.
Yes, you are.
I guess you would on any of these
Yeah,
skis.
I was going to say,
That's just
I would
like,
take any of them out.
I really think about that like resort powder application.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's the turn radius on these? Do we know?
That's a great question. This is a shorter length,
I was gonna say.
it might be a little shorter. This is a 16-meter radius in this ski, so pretty like middle of the road there. Nothing crazy about that, which is true with a lot of these skis. You know, I think there are outliers like this Blaze with the 3D radius, but with a lot of these skis, that kind of 15 to 18 meter range is kind of the sweet spot.
I still feel like they're pretty like snappy from edge to edge and pretty maneuverable given the width.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the whole like concept from the DRT. Like the edge release is really easy. Even though they're 112 underfoot, they're pretty reactive and responsive.
Yeah.
So it's not like as hard as some skis to get it up on edge. Some skis, when you get this wide, they can just feel really clunky and just like kind of, I don't know, just don't feel like super responsive, super rewarding. But I think this ski, it strikes a nice balance there. And then these last two skis that we've got up here kind of are in a different conversation. We're only moving up 3 millimeters underfoot from Rustler to this Anima. And again, this is the men's graphic, and this ski is a little long too, so weighing it's going to be kind of weird. But actually, did we weigh the Sheeva? I don't remember now. Let's do it again, just in case we missed it. I feel like we did. So Sheeva 11, I think this is a 164, about 1,750 grams. So that just, again, that balanced spot as a resort powder ski. So we probably won't weigh these Animas because they're super long and would be a weird outlier for weight. But kind of going back to how Emily was describing this Atris as a like big mountain powder ski with some versatility to it as well. This is a big mountain powder ski with very little versatility to it. This really is a specific tool for a specific job, and that is skiing powder and kind of doing it in at least somewhat of a freestyle inspired way. A good friend of mine, Carl, actually I think he's out there right now. He booked a trip to Alta, seeing all the snow that they got, and he was like, Jeff, what ski do I take? And we set him up on a pair of these.
Sweet.
And I think he's going to be psyched about that.
Yep.
But 115 underfoot here, and quite a lot of tip and tail rocker in this ski. And look at that, like, twin tip splay. A pretty wild amount of just rocker and twin tip shape to this ski, which, like, we'll see it in that next ski too, but sometimes you don't see like true twin tips kind of cross over into the powder world. So yeah, if you're like, it's like Eric Pollard back in the day. If you're gonna land a 180 off a cliff into powder, this is a great ski for the job.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has kind of one application. So, and just like you said, like Eric Pollard, it's kind of eager for that style of skiing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be able to have the same level of performance all over the mountain and on, you know, on groomers and firmer conditions, but for like a deep day, the ski is going to be a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Good friend of mine, another good friend of mine, Willie, he skis these as his kind of daily driver out in Utah.
Yep.
Absolutely loves it.
Yep.
So great ski, and they do the women's graphics come in shorter lengths, obviously. And then ending with this Black Ops 118 here, and if we're talking about specific applications, this is another one that like really specific application. This is a big mountain powder ski with a lot of freestyle influence. So this ski was originally designed under the guidance of Parker White and Chris Logan. This is now Tata Manod's pro model ski, and if you think about the way that she skis, there's a reason why she skis on this. She's aggressive, she skis steep down the fall line lines, and this ski is very supportive for that. I mean, don't let the twin tip shape fool you in this thing. It is burly. These skis have always been really strong. It's not like they slap a bunch of metal in here, but the ski itself is very, very strong. Rossignol uses a lot of rubber and stuff like that, so you get a ton of vibration damping. But it's not a quick, agile powder ski.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's the real deal.
Yep.
2,300 grams. So that is wildly heavier than any ski that we've looked at so far. So it's something that's really important to remember if you're looking at this ski. And it's like such a specific application that it's almost silly to have a ski like this in a comparison, because it's one of those things where like, I always feel bad saying this because it sounds like negative, but if you have to ask, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
It's one of those skis where like you know what you need as a skier. There are only a handful of skis out there that can provide that performance, and this is one of them. Yeah,
there's a definite target market for this ski, and it's, you know,
it's Tata Manod.
And it's like, you know, a very aggressive expert skier who wants a wide, you know, big mountain freeride ski, but with, you know, one that can handle top speeds and really aggressive skiing.
Yeah.
And it's gonna, you know, power through a lot.
It still has the like surfy, smeary capabilities. Like there's a ton of rocker
The
in this
tails
ski.
are really
Totally
insane to me.
It might be the most rocker of any ski on this wall. And it's almost like twin rocker
It's
where
wild,
like the tail is the same exact rocker profile as the tip. But yeah, it's still a burly ski. You know, I don't remember where we were when we kind of talked about this. I think we were Santa Ana 104.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good thing this has a twin tip like that and that much tail rocker.
Yeah.
Because if this had a flat tail, it would just break your leg. Like, that's probably an exaggeration, but
Perhaps,
also not really. but it strikes that balance between almost endless stability and power, but then like you can throw those big slash turns in deep powder without feeling like you're fighting the tail of the ski.
Yeah. Just I envision, you know, big lines in Alaska, you know, where you need the width underfoot and the rocker, but also just that power and that stability.
Yeah, I envision like a big slow 360 off like a 40-foot cliff into steep terrain that you have to kind of straight line out of.
Totally.
So if that's how you ski,
if that's what you're looking for,
this is a great ski for you. But
I'm sure they're a blast.
Pretty one-dimensional, and I think like there's a lot to be said, and it's certainly fair to say this is a more appropriate ski for a lot more skiers than a Black Ops 118.
Yes.
So that was fun. I think this is a fun conversation when you get up into this width, especially going from 104 to 118. There's a lot to talk about. There are some skis that we could have had in here that we didn't have in the building or anything like that. So if there are skis up here that or not up here that you're curious about and you would like to know how they fall into this comparison, let us know. Happy to reach out to Emily to get her opinion. Yeah, anything you want to add before we finish here?
I mean, I guess when I was first thinking about doing this comparison, I was thinking, oh, a lot of people will be wanting to learn about these powder-specific skis, but it's not really the case. It's a lot of, you know, just wider all-mountain freeride skis as well.
Yeah,
there's definitely
totally.
dedicated powder skis.
Up until here, for sure.
But so it just depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I prefer a wider ski underfoot most of the time.
Right.
So there's just, you know, there is a lot of versatility and a range of applications with most of these skis on the wall until you get, you know, further into this side, which is more of a, you know, snowier area type ski.
Totally.
But
yeah,
a lot of really fun, playful skis.
Especially like right here.
Yeah.
I think these skis I got over here on my side of the wall, there's a lot to like over here. There's a ton of versatility. There's a big range of different types of skiers, like from Pandora to Santa Ana to DPS. Like there's a lot that you can do with these skis, which I think is really cool.
Yep.
So let us know if you have any questions. If you're considering a pair of these skis and you're not sure about binding choice or stuff like that, let us know. Happy to help, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.